Meta committed $800 million to the Twin Cities Metro, and Microsoft and Amazon bought land around it. Today, I'm telling you why Minnesota is becoming a major data center market and which towns are sitting right in the path of this buildup. Imagine a construction crew the size of a small town, and then multiply that across more than 24 sites, because that is the scale of what's being put in motion right now. This is not one building nor one company making a random bet, but a multi-billion-dollar movement that's starting to reshape the infrastructure of this entire state. And again, this is not speculative, but confirmed projects, funded, and in some cases, they're already under construction. Project everybody should know about is Meta's facility in Rosemount. So Meta, the company behind Facebook and Instagram, is building an $800 million campus right here in the Twin Cities Metro. It's powered by renewable energy and it's opening this year. When a company at that scale makes that kind of commitment to a market, it tells you something about why they picked Minnesota, and it tells you something about what's probably coming next. But Meta is not the only one. Site trackers are following more than 20 potential data center locations across Minnesota, with some still early, some that have already cleared local rules, and some that are in communities most people here have never thought of as tech corridors. When we get to the buyer window, what I'm going to show you about where pricing sits right now is probably going to change the way you look at this whole region. Stay with me. Now, data centers are not just about internet connections and server racks anymore. The new AI-driven hyperscale facilities need three things more than anything: power, land, and water. And Minnesota, especially the outer ring communities west and northwest of the Twin Cities, checks those boxes in a way most major metros just can't. The Minneapolis Fed has said Minnesota has the most proposed hyperscale activity in its entire 9th Federal Reserve District. And a big share of that activity is starting to cluster around one specific stretch of highway you probably already know. So let's get out there and look at why these companies keep landing in the same place. When you're driving west on I-94 past Elberville and Rogers, and the landscape starts to open up with more sky, more land, and fewer traffic lights, that's not just scenery anymore. It's an open view that is becoming one of the most important stretches of real estate in the entire state now. The biggest tech companies in the world are starting to notice. The reason Becker, Monticello, and the communities around them are suddenly on the radar for companies like Microsoft and Meta comes down to one thing: the retiring Sherco coal plant. Sherco is being transformed from Minnesota's largest coal facility into a clean energy hub. And that matters because it frees up huge existing power capacity through transmission infrastructure that's already built. So for a hyperscale data center, that grid connection is worth a lot because you don't have to build the whole system from scratch. You just have to connect into it. Microsoft saw that pretty quickly and moved it to purchase around 300 acres in Becker, putting itself right next to that power zone. Amazon also bought land in the area, although they have paused their specific Becker timeline while they look at the broader region. So that piece is still developing, but the interest is real and it's documented. And then just up the road, Monticello is getting ready for its own wave, with the city adopting a formal data center ordinance, which means the local government is not just reacting to interest. They're building the framework to welcome it and manage it, and projects like the proposed Monticello Tech Campus, a 550-acre site right off Highway 25, are exactly the kind of footprint these companies are looking for. And when we get to the deal activity, I'm gonna show you what my team's actual numbers look like out here. Stay tuned. Now, MnDOT is also expanding I-94 between Elberville and Monticello from 4 lanes to 6, with completion targeted for late 2026. And when you have a major highway capacity upgrade running through the same area where hyperscale tech investment is landing, that's the kind of infrastructure overlap that can support long-term growth. The open land out here is another huge piece of the story, since it's land you just cannot find at this scale inside the 494 Beltway. That's a big reason these projects are moving west instead of trying to squeeze into the inner metro. So if you're watching this and thinking about buying or investing somewhere here, my contact info is in the description below. I work with homebuyers, investors, and relocators in these I-94 West communities, and I can give you a real-time read on what's available, what's moving, and where the value is right now. So reach out, anytime. Now, back to what this means for the people living in these communities and the buyers looking at them. I want to be straight with you on this because it's the part that gets oversimplified the most. And if you read it wrong, you're just going to read the opportunity wrong too. The construction phase of a project like Meta's Rosemount campus can put over 1,000 workers in the field at its peak. And that's real. We're talking electricians, mechanical contractors, concrete crews, and project managers. All the people it takes to build something at that scale. And during a multi-year build, those workers need places to stay, eat, commute from, and live around. That kind of workforce activity starts showing up in the towns closest to the action. But again, the permanent job count once a facility is finished is closer to around 100 high-wage operational roles, not thousands. So we're not talking about a tech campus that drops thousands of software engineers into Monticello overnight. What we're talking about is a multi-year construction cycle across dozens of proposed projects statewide, and each one brings another wave of workforce activity into the region. The real housing multiplier is the combination effect where you've got construction activity laying on top of that, pulling move-up buyers west, families choosing these towns for the space and value, and buyers from other parts of the metro getting priced out closer in. That combination is what starts pushing demand into places like Delano, Buffalo, Elberville, St. Michael, and Monticello. Keep this in mind for later because I'll show you who's buying out here, which is going to make it pretty clear how this demand is already showing up. But more on that in a bit. Now, the infrastructure validation does not get talked about enough. When a company puts $800 million into a market, not just a promise, not just a proposal, but an active construction site, that sends a signal to every other company watching that this market can support serious investment. That signal reaches developers, retailers, employers, and eventually the people buying homes. And local residential real estate tends to follow that kind of institutional confidence, not the other way around. So with that context in place, let's talk about what this means for your timing. I've watched this pattern play out enough times to know how it goes. A major development gets announced, the early movers buy before the market fully reacts, the project breaks ground, local media start covering it, and commuters start checking drive times on Google Maps. And by the time the ribbon gets cut, prices are reflecting a different market than the one that existed 18 months before. Right now, you're still in that window before the shift has fully happened out here. Across the areas, places like St. Michael, Otsego, Delano, Clearwater, and Big Lake, you're still buying at prices that look more like a fast-growing suburban market, not a market that has fully priced in a multi-billion-dollar tech infrastructure build. Entry-level homes have generally been sitting in the high 200s. Larger family homes are moving into the high 300s and low 400s, and there are still pockets of new construction out here that give you real value compared to what you'd pay for the same size home closer to the 494 loop. But that spread is not permanent. For investors, the story goes deeper than just residential appreciation, because land and industrial parcels near confirmed infrastructure and the expanding highway are getting attention from people who understand how this kind of growth tends to play out. And for families, the quality of life case was strong before the data center activity showed up. You've got well-regarded communities, real small-town character, and the kind of space the first ring stopped offering years ago. The data center build-out is the accelerant here, not the whole reason to be here. So let me show you what we're seeing on the ground right now, week by week in these exact markets. You can do research and it can tell you what's happening, but I can tell you what it feels like when you're in these markets writing offers and getting deals done. Delano, St. Michael, Elberville, Buffalo, and Monticello are towns where my team is out working with clients, not just reading reports. And the conversations I'm having on the ground have shifted in a way that lines up with everything this research is showing. A year ago, buyers out here were asking about commute times and community feel, but now there's another layer to it. People are asking what's happening with the Sherco site in Becker, what's the Scannell project could mean for Monticello, and whether St. Michael is going to feel different 5 years from now. That awareness is building, and it's coming from buyers, not just real estate agents or news headlines. Across the deals in these areas my team closed in 2025, our average transaction came in around the high 500s. And that tells you something important about who's shopping out here right now, because these are not only entry-level markets anymore. You've got move-up buyers, families coming from closer in suburbs who are willing to trade a shorter commute for way more house, and buyers from other parts of the metro choosing this area because the mix of space, community, and value is hard to recreate anywhere else at this price point. Wright County, which includes Otsego, St. Michael, and Albertville, was the fastest growing county in Minnesota by percentage over the last several years. And that growth was already happening before these data center announcements went public. Both Otsego and St. Michael have passed the 20,000 resident mark. So these are not sleepy little towns anymore, but mid-sized communities with real retail, real restaurants, and commuter infrastructure that's actively being expanded. So the activity along this region is a pattern. Infrastructure, population growth, institutional investment, and highway expansion are all landing on the same stretch of road at the same time. I see it every week when I'm out here with clients, and the direction it's pointing is pretty easy to read. So let me bring this home for you. The biggest mistake buyers make with a story like this is waiting until the investment is finished to decide it was real, because by then the market has already done the math without them. So if you're serious about buying or investing in these communities before this becomes the thing everybody is talking about, email me today and I'll put together a real-time look at what's available. Let's move before the market does. And if you're ready to take action, but you're not sure how to compete once you find the right home out here, I've linked a video that breaks down why some Twin Cities homes are sitting for 90 days, while others 15 minutes away are getting multiple offers over asking in under 48 hours. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next one.